What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to another video. We got a few stories in the NASCAR world to get into. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. So, to start off, we're going to talk about the NASCAR races, the Truck Series and Xfinity Series races, and we'll talk about some of those things that did stem from the races. Let's just jump straight into it. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is the Truck Series race that happened first on Saturday afternoon. So, throughout this race, to me, it looked like it was going to be a Kyle Busch versus Chase Elliott show, similar to what happened in Charlotte. But with about 50 laps to go in this race, Kyle Busch would get into the outside wall, would cut down a tire, and he actually ended up speeding down pit road 2 times. He actually would end up going, I believe, 2 laps down in this race, and he was able to bounce back. Meanwhile, Chase Elliott actually missed pit road. He was actually in second place at the time. He actually would end up missing pit road. He have to go back around, and he would lose a lot of time. Because of this, Austin Hill actually would end up taking the race lead. It had a really, really big lead over, I believe at the second place at a time, was Ross Chastain. So we had a pretty big lead over Ross Chastain. Then with 3 laps to go in the race, Chase Elliott would get loose and spin out, bringing out the caution with 3 laps to go in the race. And the shootout of this race we thought was going to be Chastain versus Hill. Well, actually, Ross Chastain, I believe, ended up having a loose wheel. He would restart about 10th in this race. So the shootout would actually come down between Austin Hill and Grant Enfinger for the win. And Grant Enfinger actually somehow got a good run on the outside, and he parted his way. And Grant Enfinger actually won his second truck race of the year. Man, you got to feel for Austin Hill, but Grant Enfinger got his second win of the truck season, and this is the first time since he joined full-time in the Truck Series where he scored multiple wins in a season. So good job on Grant Enfinger. Now we get into the Xfinity Series race. This race was a little bit interesting. This race was basically between most of the day between Austin Cindric and Chase Briscoe in the afternoon, but then something really, really strange happened in this race. Austin Cindric decided to pit at the end of stage 1, decided to come down pit road. I think a 20 laps in a run. He decides to come down pit road. And remember, the Xfinity Series only had 5 sets of tires that they used. So they were at a major disadvantage on tires. I don't know what crew chief Brian Wilson was thinking. He probably thought because at the end of the race, usually the final stage goes green pretty much throughout the end of the race. So he probably was thinking we're probably getting a really, really long green flag run. Well, we did get that long green flag run, and then things happen on pit road on the final pit stop. So, the top 3 drivers, Austin Cindric, Justin Allgaier, and Chase Briscoe, actually all ended up speeding on pit road. The top 3 cars coming off of pit road ended up speeding off pit road. So, the lead would actually get handed out to AJ Allmendinger, who started 30th in this race. It looked like it was actually going to be that Noah Gragson, who was second at the time, was actually going to end up catching AJ Allmendinger for this race win. Unfortunately, though, that was not the case. AJ Allmendinger wins his first ever oval race in his time in NASCAR. This is actually his first time he ever won an oval, which is insane to me. And his 4th career Xfinity Series win. So congrats to AJ Allmendinger on that. He had to drive from 30th up to win this race. That was really impressive. I think he had the 4th, 5th best car in this race, but AJ Allmendinger was able to get the win there. Believe Justin Allgaier ended up making up the 5th or 6th in the race, which I think that is really, really impressive to think about, and good job by AJ Allmendinger on winning his first ever oval race in NASCAR. Now we get into the next story. We are going to be talking about some of the things that have stemmed from the race. So Chase Elliott is actually going to drive the number 24 truck at Homestead Miami Speedway. Now, one thing to note is that 24 truck is actually going to end up being a full-time team in 2020. What I think this means is that there's going to be some races where Chase Elliott is going to run, probably only going to run, I think he's only going to run 2 more races after this. Since this technically is his 3rd race, he only has 2 more opportunities. But since this is a full-time organization, my thoughts are that maybe we'll see Jeff Gordon run one of these races, maybe. Who really knows? But I think in general, it's going to be Sam Mayer developing because, I mean, what is he? I think he's 17 years old, 16 or 17 years old. So he's really close to being eligible to be full-time in the Truck Series. And I think he's going to be getting ready to go full-time in the Truck Series in 2021. I'm expecting Sam Mayer to make his debut, another run in the Truck Series here very, very, very soon. But really cool that Chase Elliott is going to run home. So yes, it is a leech running. I understand. But hey, Chase Elliott's going to run. What can you do? I mean, yes, it's a leech, but it affects how the outcomes. But I mean, if we have a race like Atlanta where Chase Elliott makes a mistake, you might see someone from the truck regulars win. So who really knows what is going to happen? Right after the Truck Series race, speaking of which, Johnny Sauter actually got disqualified. Yes, he actually ended up finishing 15th, which is surprising, but he actually ended up getting DQ'd in this race. And the reason for that is he actually had a race tire violation. He ended up failing the dunk tire test that they do for these tires, which is really interesting. Like, you wouldn't think that we'd see a failed tire test actually disqualify you from the race. But it must have been pretty severe because there must have been something on the tires that affected the outcome of this race. I mean, Johnny Sauter really wasn't a threat to begin with for this race. He really hasn't been that big of a threat for the championship at all in 2020. But Johnny Sauter failed inspection. That just surprised me when I found that out after the race. You know, he wasn't even in the contention for the race and he fails inspection. That's when you know that you're just trying to get an advantage. And Johnny Sauter's probably in the waning points of his career anyways. But man, that is really crazy to think that Johnny Sauter did that and his team did that. That just blows my mind. I did not expect that. Now we get into the next story. Noah Gragson's future for the future of NASCAR is very, very uncertain after the 2020 season. Here's what Noah had to say about this. I'm fighting for a job right now. Don't really know what I'm going to do next year. All I can do is focus on today. All I can do is focus on this race team and myself to be better. It's a cutthroat sport. Definitely very grateful to be driving these race cars with such big name logos on the hood. Right now, nothing's given to you in this world, so you have to fight every single day, every minute to do the best job possible on and off the racetrack. Now, it's crazy to think that Noah Gragson's a driver who might be possibly out of a job after 2020. He's not very sure. But in my honest opinion, I think Noah Gragson will be okay. I think he'll find some sponsorship. I think he'll still be in the sport. I mean, crazy to think, though, that he's a driver. You know, he has money. I'm surprised I think he has Safely Auto on his car, if I'm not mistaken, or can't remember the brand that has been followed him throughout his career. But man, Noah Gragson, just a guy who I never thought would have sponsorship problems in his career. I mean, he hasn't really had many of those. And to think that he has possible sponsorship problems is very crazy. Now, like I just mentioned here, I don't think Noah Gragson will be going anywhere. I think he'll be all right. I just think that Noah Gragson, you know, he's got to find sponsorship. I think it still is possible for him to go to the 48. I don't think he will. But I think one of the biggest problems for Noah Gragson, and I haven't mentioned this already, is that Noah Gragson has had some issues with some drivers this year. He's had a lot of aggression. He intentionally took out Maya Snyder. Whether you like it or not, he intentionally wrecked him. He got into Ross Chastain. He actually ended up even getting on his teammate at Bristol, even though I would say that wasn't really, he did really nothing wrong in that. He got into his teammate and kind of wrecked him. Didn't say he did anything wrong. I'm just saying that he kind of caused that incident with Justin Allgaier. So yeah, it's surprising to me because like he's a guy we thought was completely secure for past 2020, maybe in the Hendrick development program. But I mean, Hendrick Motorsports is probably going to be filled up after next year. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I hope he gets another year at Junior Motorsports. I expect him to probably go because he's had a really good year. He's got 2 wins this year. So, teams may be looking at him for the foreseeable future, but we'll have to find out what is going to happen. And now we get into the final story. AJ Allmendinger is actually going to run the Hooters 250 at Homestead Miami Speedway for the Xfinity Series. He will actually compete for the Dash for Cash, but he will have to start at the rear because he had a late entry. I think AJ Allmendinger, in my opinion, should go full-time in this series. I think he's really been exciting, especially since he's come and run these races in Xfinity. I think he's put on a really, really good show. He's been up front a lot of these races. Yes, Bristol did not go as well, but I think he still ended up rebounding to finish in the top 10, which is really crazy and surprising. But I think AJ Allmendinger could honestly go out and win this race. That team has been a lot better. I think College Racing in general as an organization has been a lot faster, and I think that he could honestly bring a lot to the table for this organization. I think he could go back-to-back at Homestead. Granted, he'll have to start from the rear, but I think he could drive all the way up to the front. So yeah, those are a few of the NASCAR stories I wanted to discuss with you guys today. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. Please like and subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on so you can be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Links in the description below for that. And comment your thoughts on today's video. What do you think about Allmendinger returning, making a run at Dash or Cash? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about Noah Gragson's uncertain future? Let me know in the comments below. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching today's video, and I will see you guys next time. Take care, everybody.